McCown, Shannon, and Dave Hodge is with us today. Let's turn back to baseball a bit. I know you are a big Blue Jays guy. This organization doesn't really have the financial flexibility right now to go into the free agent market at the top end. We assume Rogers can spend whatever they want to spend, but I think they're getting close to realizing that they've come to a point where they can't just throw out 20, 30, $40 million a year to some player just to go get them, especially with what is lying ahead with Guerrero and Bichette and others. So the biggest probability is that one of the catchers winds up being traded for somebody they hope of significance, a need somewhere, whether it's a starting pitcher or something else we don't know. So you got Kirk, Jansen, Marino. Which of those three would you dangle? Which of the three is the most likely to bring you the return you want and leave you with the other two who are good enough to carry this team next year?
Well, the guy who's most attractive is Moreno, and he's also most attractive to you. So I think you take him off the table. And because he can do other things besides catch, and I think they're trying to make him into a player who, that's true versatility when your catcher can go somewhere else.
Yep.
And play second base or whatever. He's fast. He hits. He's young. He seems to be the star that they think he is. So you could dangle him and have every other team say we want him, but I don't think the Jays would part with him. So now you come to a difficult decision where Kirk at oftentimes, and really at the end of the season, winds up being either your best hitter or your second best hitter, probably, or one of your top three, let's say. Well, how many teams in baseball would consider their catcher one of their best hitters? I think there is one other team, and that's the Phillies, and that's JT Realmuto. So every team is going to want Kirk because of how he hits. He never strikes, or seldom strikes out. He seems pretty good behind the plate. He's not Yadier Molina or Maldonado or whatever defensively, but he's okay. But he can hit, and that's the way he was built. So he's attractive. But you want him too because he's one of your best hitters. And so is Danny Jansen if you go down about 5 or 6. And again, there's no other team in baseball that has a catcher who is one of their 5 or 6 best hitters. Mm-hmm. So I think there's real value in Danny Jansen. You got to find out how much. But if I'm the Blue Jays, I make a trade that I like and let Jansen go because he's as tradable now as he's ever been. Certainly at 260, 15 home runs. A lot of teams would say, give me that. And you wind up with Kirk as your main catcher and Moreno as your catcher of the future who can do other things and maybe winds up being better than Kirk in a short time. There's certainly different kinds of catchers and players. So my answer is I'm trying to trade Danny Jansen.
It's funny because I'm kind of leaning to trading Kirk before I am Jansen. And I started to wonder as you were speaking, why had I changed? And I think the fact is that Jansen's hitting particularly the second half of the season was one of the things that said, wow, okay. I can see what the conflict is now between those two guys. I'm not trading Moreno under any circumstances. I'm not. I don't think I think that's bad. That's bad in any sport of trading a young prospect that they have invested in and really he hasn't been given that opportunity. But for me, and whether it's I think Jansen's a better technical catcher, or You know, do I like his versatility more? I don't know. I think they both bring so much similar to the table, Dave, that I do wonder that. But I'm trading Kirk because I actually think Kirk can give you more value. And I think if you're going to improve your team, you need to give value for value.
Well, Bob, go ahead and trade the kid, and then we got
Yeah.
We got one each, huh?
we got it all covered. But maybe you wouldn't. I don't know.
No, I wouldn't trade Marino.
Who are you trading, Bob?
Probably Jansen. And my reason is that we have seen 3 months of Jansen hitting the ball hard. And we saw several years of him being suspect at the plate. And I'm just not sure that this is an evolution.
Now you've changed because you were in the Kirk camp, trading Kirk for the longest time.
Oh, I go back and forth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I see both arguments. I don't have a definitive answer for you.
Well, you can be willing to trade either one and see which one pleases you the most in terms of the return.
I think that's probably where I'm at, Dave.
Yeah.
Is let's see what you're offered for both of them. Throw both of them out there and say,
Yeah.
okay, which one do you want?
Doesn't this ask the question too, if you're looking at your own club, which of the two can play 125 to 135 games behind the plate? Honestly, or are you expecting Moreno to play 60?
Well, I would hope you could build him up to play. I think you want him in there as often as it makes sense for a young guy. I mean, obviously you have to see how he progresses, but if he can perform the way they think he can, and the way, there were flashes that would indicate that he can be a star. Kirk is, or Jansen, I mean, they're not going to be stars, but I remind you that this is a position that is by far the hardest for teams to fill. There are just teams that begging for catching help. And here are the Blue Jays who have, one too many, basically. I mean, if they ever had the luxury of carrying all three, I think there's a case to be made for that. But they do have to improve their team. And it is a luxury that they can't afford. So might be the outfielders that they've got. They might have to swallow hard and say, we got to trade Hernandez or Gurriel. And that is the same kind of question / argument. Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel are both going to be attractive to teams that want more hitting. And the Jays got lots of hitting. They're better if they can have both of them in the outfield, but they might not be able to do that if they want to get a real quality starting pitcher, which everybody thinks they need to do. A lot depends on Barrios, and I mean, if you can count on him, then the next pitcher that you add doesn't have to be as good as you thought Barrios was going to be. But if you have doubts about Barrios, and he left many doubts after last year, then you got to try to trade for a real, another Gosman type deal. That was a signing, not a trade. But they need a real good pitcher, and it's they're going to have to give a lot to get that.